Checkmate, issue 3, Brian Michael Bendis writing with Alex Maliva on art. And I opted out. I was kind of down the
You're
last
fine.
issue, basically because I feel like it's not going to have an ending because it's just going to tie into more Bendis stuff, and I'm out on sadly. Like, you know what? I was defending Bendis so much when he was joining DC because I've liked a lot of Bendis' work in the past, and I've liked some of his DC stuff, but it's been rough going recently. It was just easy to drop out. But Matt still read this, so feel free.
Yeah. So you're absolutely right where it feels like it's just going to play into more Bendis stuff. And it kind of feels like we're past this all now. Like we're in a post-Bendis DC now. Even though he's still writing Justice League and maybe Naomi season 2. Who knows at this point? But the time structure out of this is my biggest problem. Is that it keeps jumping back and forth between weeks ago and now. But the crux of the issue is that it's very important for Mark Spector to have Superman on his side because he believes that Superman agrees with them, but he disagrees with how they're going about it. So his plan is we got to get Superman on our side because whatever Superman does, the world will follow. And that's what it takes all these pages to kind of do. And there's a big a big disagreement because Superman shows up to Leviathan, former Markovia, to pull Talia out, and Talia has killed all of these, Leviathan agents. And Mark Spector, it looks like he's not Mark Spector. That's Moon Knight. But the former Manhunter who's running Leviathan. It's like, yeah, the cost is too high, but this is the cost to do what we need to do. And you come to find out that when they kidnapped Lois, as Mark Shaw, by the way, as I'm going back through this, he had kidnapped Lois, and then they get a code silver, and they send Lois back to the Hall of Justice, which isn't where they kidnapped her from, because if you know from the last issue, she was on her dad's houseboat outside of Coast City.
I recall, yeah.
So she's able to put together that the only 3 pieces of technology Leviathan can't get their hands on are the Hall of Justice computers, the Batcave, and the Fortress of Solitude. If they can get into there, then they'll have all global knowledge and they'll be able to finally execute their plan. So it's up to the detectives, Bones, Trevor, Lois, Damian, The Question, Arrow, and Manhunter to stop them. And, she's able to put that together, and now they kind of know what they're going to do because he's off his game now. Is that Shaw's been thrown off now by Superman. And so, they get talking about Talia with Damian, and that, she's like, it's complicated, our relationship there. But, overly, she is trustworthy. Come to find out that weeks ago, Shaw already got to Talia, and that she's a mole within this group. But it looks like Damon Rose has sights on her now. So again, I don't know what Bendis is finding with this character at all. Like, I know it's Lois's long lost brother, in quotes, but still, seems counterintuitive after having Damian basically vouch for her about this. But Damian is going to trail her, so that's pretty interesting. But at the end, King ends up going to Toyman, which plays off of that tease that we had gotten in one of the super books. I forget which one exactly. That he's going to have him create something. And he goes, is it time to reveal who you are? And the King character goes, I was hoping to avoid that. So still big teases, but ultimately it feels like this is just going to build to nothing. The art's fantastic, of course, right?
Mm-hmm.
but the story is you're just like, yeah, it's very moody, it's very spy, but at the end of the day, it feels like it's not going to build to anything. Again, I still think King is Brian of Markovia, Geoforce, and he's trying to get his country back at the end of the day. So if that's where this ends up, cool. If not, I still don't know what the big point was to kind of bring back Checkmate in this way. That ultimately feels like it's not important. Which is kind of sad because Checkmate's a fun concept, but I almost don't know if there's room for it in the current DCU.
It felt way more exciting in the Lois Lane book by Rucka than it.
Oh, you mean the character? You mean the guy that kind of put the dossier together on Checkmate?
I mean, that's a fair point.
Supposed to be a take on global surveillance by superpowers.
I mean, that is a very fair point, but I just yeah. I think that the other thing is Bendis has kind of lost trust that things are building to something because it just keeps tying into the next thing he's doing, and that's kind of like really underwhelming, annoyingly.
Well, like again, just put the name Checkmate on it, and it's just it feels so small. Like it feels like not that Checkmate needs to be this big government organization, right? But it feels almost like what the DEO has become over in Infinite Frontier. That feels more Checkmate. It feels bigger. It feels like it's this check on.
It also feels weirdly like because we're dealing with a lot of these characters in other books right now. Because we have the DEO that's an Infinite Frontier. This just kind of feels like tacked on and not part of the world that's currently happening.
Right. Well, and even when if it ties into the Justice League, when is this taking place? Because we had Oliver meet Damon Rose, right, in Justice League, and now we have this character we had this whole cover last time for Checkmate, which is who is Damon Rose. We never really got an answer. And here he just kind of pops up, and it's just like, well, again, is this just playing into Justice League? Because if that's the case, I don't know if I care as much as if this is going to tell a self-contained story about what Checkmate is versus Leviathan. So yeah, it just all feels like he came in swinging and he's punched himself out, to use a sports term. And it's just almost not like, because again, I hate that where you say it feels like it's not for anything, which you should just be reading for the pleasure of reading. I just wish that I knew what this book wanted to be.
Yeah, I want to make it clear that when I talk about a book feeling important, I'm not talking about in the context of continuity or the context of the line. I'm talking about when you're reading it on its own, does it feel important to itself? I know that's like a weird thing to say, but it does. Like when you read something that's well written, it feels like it matters when you're reading it. And
as much as I love all the characters involved here, and even the whole idea of Leviathan wanting there to be no secrets, because that means if there's no secrets, then everything's more secure, right? I like that concept. It's just I don't know if Bendis is executing it correctly. Not even correctly, effectively. And because I get that Shaw wants Superman on his side, but taking over a country and running gunning out all of these other government agencies is not a way to get Superman on your side, right? So I don't know what the grand scheme is. And again, I like all these characters. Especially I love Lois Lane. We all know this. I just don't know where this is even going to end up. So
yeah, I think it's a mixture of things. I think it's a mixture of Bendis sort of letting us down more and more. I think it's a mixture of it feeling more and more like it barely fits into continuity, which it shouldn't be a huge deal, but it does kind of add up. When it doesn't feel that important on its own, and then it's not going to have any ramifications on anything else because it's so separate from everything, it kind of all adds up to feeling just kind of So here we are. We're feeling So.
Yeah. So with that, I mean, the art's still phenomenal. It's great. But I'm gonna give this a 7.
Doesn't sound that harsh, but
no. But I mean, all things considered, it's hard because it's not a bad read. I just don't.
Yeah.
I wouldn't recommend it to somebody that hasn't read the other Bendis stuff, right? Because it feels like a cog in the wheel, and that's where you're talking about. It doesn't matter by itself.
At the very least, you had to have read Leviathan, and even then, I feel like a lot of Action Comics kind of was needed to understand that story. So,
right?
Yeah, it's a weird knock-on effect.